Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Dattitude. It's our Friday morning visit with our friend Larry Holder from The Athletic. This is episode number 166. And in case you didn't know, we have it on the screen for you. It is Friday, September the 15th. I'm sure you wanted a calendar lesson this morning. Larry, I keep meaning to change the little cheering thing in our preamble to Trombone Shorty, but I keep forgetting. So you
Well,
got cheering
hopefully
in
you
your
have the
ear for
license to do
a
it.
minute.
Otherwise, just add another one who's coming after you. I mean, I'd be careful with that.
Well, they're all, they all want to come at you at some point. So
Something like that. Yeah.
I'll reach out to him and see if he's okay with it. Anyway, what is going on this morning? How are you? And it's finally football routine time. That week one is over with. We're into week two, and I actually feel semi-normal again.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the routine. I'm with you here. And look, it was I'd say a little bit of a wacky week one, especially
Sure.
just look in some of the things I do at the Athletic. I chart what's going on with the quarterbacks using some traditional and then some advanced metrics. And it was one of the worst week one quarterback outings in recent memory in terms of EPA per drop back and passer rating. And so I'm expecting a bounce back. We already saw a bounce back in week two with Jalen Hurts and Kirk Cousins. But I will say one of the positive notes that we can certainly dive into was Derek Carr in that sense.
Yeah.
So that is he was the exception to the rule. He was one of the ones who, despite the pressure flying around him, new offense. I know the points didn't look plentiful, but he played very well. And I feel like that's something that game one, start one, for him to get a win and really kind of get his feet under him, I thought that was a big plus against a really tough defensive front with Tennessee.
We will definitely talk about Derek Carr this morning. We will talk about the Saints at the Panthers. The good thing is they don't play till Monday, so we actually have another Dattitude before the game on Monday morning. Fletcher Mackel will be with me. We'll be talking about strictly nothing but the Saints. Today we're going to talk about the Saints, and we're going to talk about the week two in the NFL, a little bit of both. You see on the bottom right-hand of the screen, I put the LSU and Tulane lines up just so we're not completely ignoring them. I'm not trying to ignore them, but they're on the screen. Also, if you want to leave your comment or question over the course of the next half hour or so, Larry and I will be talking. Be glad to show it on the screen, just like Chris did. Who dat? He's excited about the Saints, and, he should be. Larry, one of the things that you just said I thought was interesting, and people don't know this because I don't have their stats on the screen, but as bad as Ryan Tannehill was last week, to prove your point, Ryan Tannehill, the passing game for the Titans, I think, was somewhere like 17th last week in the NFL.
His quarterback rating was terrible.
Well, right.
And
but I mean, overall yards-wise.
Right. Well, that goes when you throw 3 picks, that your quarterback rating is going to go in the tank. But still, look, and when you look at that, and I think that's something that might get ignored. Like, look, the fact that the Saints were able to pressure him,
right,
led to some missed throws. Like, there were some opening, like that flea flicker, like that was open. Like, that should have been a touchdown. And I feel like the fact that the Saints were able to pressure him, get him a little jittery. And it's not like he's been the most efficient quarterback the last maybe 2 years, because when he first went to Tennessee, I mean, he was excellent. And then he's tailed off the last few years. So, I think that's something that, especially when you look at just quarterback play in general around the league, like Tua was the exception. Derek Carr, like Jordan Love, like someone that the Saints are going to face soon. I mean, he was the exception to kind of the rule.
Justin Herbert in a loss.
Yeah, Justin Herbert. Look, Matt Stafford threw for a lot of yards. Brock Purdy played pretty well, but a lot of the big names did not. And one of the names that, the Saints are going to be facing come Monday night, Bryce Young, his quarterback rating was in the 40s. And he threw for 1 touchdown, but he did not look like he was super effective against a defense that is improved with Atlanta, but not as good as the Saints defense. So I think that's going to be super promising for the Saints come Monday night in Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah, and you talk about Derek Carr. I actually have the stat book right next to me, so I'll just call it up. But, he had a passer rating of 96.1, 23 of 33 for 305 yards with a touchdown and interception. He doesn't have that interception. He's obviously well into the hundreds. What did you see from Derek Carr, obviously, that you liked? We'll get into the next. I got some complaints because I started with the negative in my podcast on Monday in the offensive line. So we're going to start with the positive today. And clearly Derek Carr himself was a positive with the way he threw the football.
Well, I think he rebounded from that interception. Everybody knew it was a boneheaded throw. He admitted it. He's not a dummy. Like, he gets it. And rebounded and played very well in the second half. I like that he grew some big-time rapport with Chris Olave. Look, he didn't absorb a sack in the second half. Like, all the sacks came in the first half. So
second quarter, all in the second quarter.
Right. So they were able to remedy that. And obviously hitting Rashid Shaheed, trusted him a couple times with the touchdown. And then, of course, the big play on third down deep to really cinch the game. I think that's exactly what you're hoping for. And I know it's kind of been a little bit of a viral video. I know going around Saints Twitter, some of the things he said on the sideline to get you fired up. I mean, that's a plus. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's something that you've been wanting to see for a couple years, and now you're seeing that. And is it perfect? No, but I think you saw even just a progression from first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. It got more comfortable, and I think that's something that it's never going to be too big. I feel like for Derek Carr,
right?
If they can play this way, I want to see the run game improve. I mean, that could take some heat off of his back too. I mean, the fact that the run game was absent, that's a problem. So I think that's got to improve. And you're playing another pretty stout defense, even though they got some pieces missing, like J.C. Horn. So I think that's going to open things up in the pass game. But still, I do think, though, that Carolina brings a formidable defense.
Jamal Williams just 18 carries for 45 yards. 11 of those yards came on that last run where he was able to secure the first down. Obviously, that was a big run. But to have, you take that 11 away and you got 17 for 34, even with my limited Shaw math, I know that is 2 yards per carry. So that is not very good. They've got to improve on that.
Raider Pride.
See how good I did. Raider Pride, Shaw and Rummel tonight. I'll be broadcasting.
Are they tonight? I didn't even know that.
I digress. I am doing play-by-play for Shaw Rummel tonight at Shaw. So megaphone has been at Rummel on Severn. Jay Ross said it's been there so long he forgot where it was.
He's probably not lying.
So probably not. But anyway, back to the NFL and the Saints. But I think I am, you got to be pleased with where Derek Carr was this week. The Saints getting Kendra Miller back, I think it looks like he'll be back. That actually should help too, the running game. But that defensive front for Tennessee is just stone cold solid.
Yeah, I think people didn't realize it or just kind of forgot about that. I mean, look, Jeffrey Simmons is a Pro Bowl caliber player. Danico Autry is very good. That's one of the tougher teams to actually run the football against. And so, I'm curious to see if the Saints are able to kind of win the line of scrimmage a little bit more against Carolina. I feel like they've got a solid front, maybe not as stout as Tennessee's, but I feel like they still have a pretty solid front. I mean, you look at Brian Burns. I mean, he's more of a pass rush guy. But,
he is.
But look, they know one of the defensive tackles pretty well. That's Shai Tuttle. You're curious to see if you can run on him. And, but like Justin Houston, he's more of a pass rusher. Derek Brown, people remember him from his Auburn days. So, I think this is an opportunity for the Saints to be able to run it a little bit better. They're probably stronger against, in the pass rush aspect, maybe than the run defense. So maybe the Saints can actually take advantage of that.
We're going to get to Brian Burns in a little bit because he's going up against the guy I thought played maybe the worst game of the weekend at left tackle last week. But again, I don't want to start with the negative. I want to talk about the positive. Another positive, and you see on the screen, I mean, I was surprised when I saw these rankings. And again, week one rankings don't mean a whole lot, but they're better than showing last year's rankings. I was surprised the Saints were basically average because I thought the defense played very well, Larry, especially the defensive front. I thought the defensive tackles played well. Of course, Carl Granderson I thought was outstanding. And then Marshawn Lattimore looked like an all-pro.
And you figured that from him. And Tannehill could have thrown more interceptions. I mean, that's like that. The fact we're seeing takeaways is huge. I mean, that to me was no matter what the stats are, you could have been yardage, this, that, and the other. If you could take away the football, that's and look, the fact that they gave all those takeaways and the Saints couldn't turn them into touchdowns. I mean, that's probably if they lost, we probably would be harping on that a lot more.
For sure.
The fact that they won, I mean, that's kind of been underplayed. So when you look at it in that sense, didn't give up a ton of yards, obviously didn't give up too many points, took the ball away a ton, and you're seeing pass pressure. Like you have all the ingredients of what you want to see. Look, that it might be tough to replicate that every single week, but it shows you that they're capable of being good. Like we figured that. We've been talking about that probably you, me in different spots all off season. But that is something that you expect it to happen and has happened. And that's something that needs to continue to happen as this offense really kind of gets a feel for all the pieces and one another.
Jim Derry here with Larry Holder, as we will be all season long here on Friday morning at 10 a.m. on the Dattitude podcast. I think one thing I find interesting is if you just look at these stats from right now, again, week one stats don't mean a whole bunch, but you look at what Atlanta was able to do against Carolina, Larry, and Bijan Robinson, obviously, I mean, Alvin Kamara suspended, so there's really not a Bijan Robinson on the Saints roster. But the fact they were able to run like they did, Desmond Ridder was awful. I mean, you talking about doing quarterback ratings. He couldn't find Drake London with a map and was overthrowing Kyle Pitts, and he ended up, I think, he 3 for 40 or something along those lines. But so if Derek Carr can play like he played last week and the offensive line, the left side of the offensive line can be just a little better, I think the Saints are in great shape.
Yeah, you mentioned Desmond Ridder. I mean, it shows you that that passer rating can be pretty deceiving because his passer rating was pretty high, but that wasn't.
He must
really
not have turned the ball over.
Right. Well, he was efficient, and it was it was definitely something that I wouldn't put a lot of faith in. Yeah, they're going to lean on their run game, and I think that. The Saints probably saw that roadmap, probably want to be able to replicate that. I'll be curious to see if they do. I mean, you mentioned that Kendra Miller, maybe if he's going to be back and somewhat healthy. I mean, how much does that help? I know people were wondering where's Taysom Hill. Where's Taysom Hill? I mean, I feel like that is going to be something that people are going to be asking about all season long.
Yeah, but Larry, if you talk about Taysom Hill, I mean, if you look at just last year, I mean, last year he'd basically be a no-show, and then the next game he'd have 120 yards rushing / receiving and 2 touchdowns. You just don't know what game it's going to be, and that's kind of how the Saints won it.
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt that's the way they want it, but people are going to be looking at it in terms of. I'm playing him at tight end. I want him to be fantasy, this and the other. I mean, that's that's where it's going to all come to play with some of that stuff. But still, it's they need.
Well, unless you have Pete Carmichael's cell number and can text him, and he's going to actually willing to text you back and find out when Taysom. I mean, just from a fantasy football perspective, we don't talk a whole lot of fantasy football on the show, but from a fantasy football perspective, you just can't use Taysom Hill ever. Because you have no idea. I have no idea. You have no idea. The only one that has any idea that Taysom Hill is going to be a big part of the offense going into the week is probably Taysom Hill, Pete Carmichael, and maybe Dennis Allen.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So, yeah, exactly. So I think a lot of times the game is going to dictate what happens there. And so, it's I wouldn't assume he's going to be a big part every week. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. And I maybe I look like I'm being I'm trying to multitask to help out. You keep bringing up Trevor Penning, and I know we've been talking about. Look, pass pressure, run blocking, this, that, and the other.
Does he have a grade? Because I didn't look at anything. I'm just going by what my eye test told me.
Now, I don't necessarily go and use like Pro Football Focus's grades per se. I look at a lot of pass pressure percentages, like how many pressure their pressure rates. And right now going into week 2 at left tackle, Trevor Penning has the worst pass pressure rate at left tackle in the NFL.
No surprise. There's 0.8%
of the time.
And I literally had no idea that was actually the case going into today. I mean, I figured it was the case because I watched him every play. I mean, at some point you can't take your eyes off him. He's so bad. He's like, Derek Carr's laying on the ground and Trevor Penning's there standing there like, sorry. I mean,
but at least they made the adjustment to like throw an extra tight end over there and help him.
But you can't keep doing that though. You can't do that for 17 games. You have, and that's why I was saying Monday. I'm like, look, I'm not saying you should just yank him. I mean, maybe he just had a bad game. Maybe he wasn't prepared. Whatever the case may be. So you can give him a semi-pass, but to be the worst in the league at anything means you need to be replaced. If you're the worst in the league at your position, I don't care. You need to be replaced. So with that being said, I would say no. So what I'm saying is if they go into this week and he has another first half, if he has a first half like he had the other day where he allowed 3 of those 4 sacks were his fault. Okay. They were completely his fault. 3 of the 4. So I think you got to move Hurst over to left tackle and put Pete in and left guard, assuming Pete is fully healthy, which I don't think any of us are completely sure that that's the case. But if that is, you got a $54 million man sitting on your damn bench. I mean, you got to make some kind of move. I get Trevor Penning's the first round pick, but you got to make some kind of move. You can't sit there and watch that.
And they know that. I mean, that, but it's going to look. Here's the thing. Well, yeah. Now, here's the thing. Like, you might have to scheme around it. I mean, if not, so I think that's something that you don't want to have to do. You draft him in the first round. You hope he's the guy. And so, but like, when you say, looking at who he was going up against last week, Arden Key did some of the damage. He's an improving player, but he's not like a Pro Bowl every week guy.
Not.
Brian Burns is.
Exactly.
He's waiting for a huge contract. He's not going to get Nick Bosa money, but he's going to get big time money. So he is one of the young up and coming Pro Bowl type long-term pass rushers in the league that the Saints are going to have to contend with. And I'll be curious to see if he's learned anything from week 1 to week 2.
Brian Burns is eating monster steaks with dripping Heinz 57 all over it, licking his chops waiting to get at Trevor Penning. So we thought last week, if Saints fans thought, and I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just telling you the way that it is. I mean, if you thought last week was bad, if Trevor Penning plays like that, he's going to get destroyed, and so is Derek Carr. So when I go into trying to predict this game, and Monday I'll have my official prediction. I had to put it in my NFL picks. If you want to know, I picked the Panthers to win because of Trevor Penning. Literally, I picked them because of Trevor Penning. But we'll have my official prediction on Monday. Maybe I'll change my mind if I think the Saints are getting healthier. But I just don't know. I mean, it's just that is the second most important position to me on the field.
Well, maybe you put Foster Moreau over there, and he could be like the left
Maybe.
tackle. That might be what you do. But
then you got 10 on 11, in my opinion, if you do that.
Well, the Panthers are down J.C. Horn, so you might as well call it 10 on. Hey, so let's reverse that here. And so
I'm trying not to be Derry down on this Friday because I hear the lower humidity is coming. The Saints are 1-0, chance to be 2-0 for the first time. By the way, we never mentioned this. For the first time, if they win, it'd be the first time they were 2-0 since 2013. It's hard to believe they haven't been 2-0 in 10 years, a full decade.
That
so
is
all the
believe
Sean Payton talk. Yeah, I had to go back and find that one.
That is.
They actually started 5-0 that year. So, but anyway, I mean, they got work to do.
That's because of Rob Ryan, man. Remember those days? Good times.
Oh, God.
He still has a tab open at Miss Mays probably that he never paid.
We had some fun black and gold todays back in when Rob Ryan was the defensive coordinator. In fact, when he got fired and during that bye week, I think you could still find it on YouTube. I had a nice somber goodbye to Rob Ryan. That was fun times. I mean,
Yeah,
I ripped him.
I remember being in that Saints locker room after that game, and everybody knew it was over. Like all of the defensive players, everybody knew it was like bye week. And that
was bye week is what I called it. I called it bye week.
I'll never forget the play where I was like, they definitely quit on Rob Ryan. It's where some ball carrier was running toward the end zone. Brandon Browner doesn't even try. All he does is takes a cheap shot on like a Washington receiver as the guy's just like flying by him. I said, this is way over. Way over for Rob
Brandon Browner. The Brandon Browner is
in jail,
be
by the way.
Well, he's not the only former Saint defensive back that's in jail, but Brandon Browner might be the worst Saint. I mean, people talk about Sean Knight, maybe Russell Erxleben. I mean, there's lots of candidates, but Brandon Browner might be the worst Saint ever. I mean, we're going back in the time machine, but he really might be. Anyway, I called that bye week. It wasn't bye week; it was the bye week. But I had a little fun with that. Hopefully, we don't have to worry about that anymore. All right, we're going to move on to the NFL in just a minute, but I want to get your thoughts on the number one or number two keys. What do you think of the keys, and give me a prediction for this week?
Look, I'll ignore I'm not ignoring it, but I'll stay away from Penning in that one. I mean, that's okay. To me, an obvious key. I think it is once again making the quarterback uncomfortable. Bryce Young didn't look super comfortable last week. I know this is their home opener, but it's not like he's used to playing in Bank of America Stadium. Right. The Saints defense is better in terms of pass rush and effectiveness, and have better players in the secondary. So I think making Bryce Young feel uncomfortable, I think they could certainly do that. And look, I think really, I know the Saints used a lot of Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed had some home runs, but continuing to keep Michael Thomas involved,
absolutely.
I think that is something that opens things up for those other two young guys. And I think that helped. They went to Thomas early, and I think it opened things up for Olave and Shaheed late. So I think those are keys. I'll give you another one. I mean, the Saints need to run the football better. I mean, there's no question about that.
No question.
So I think that's a big key. And so, yeah, look, and I'll give you my prediction. I've made it public already on The Athletic. And I didn't give a score just because we pick.
That's okay.
We pick straight up. Want to. I picked the Saints to win. So I picked the Saints to go 2-0. And I think that the Saints can look. I don't think Miles Sanders and they're running the football that well either at Carolina. So the Saints kind of improved in that aspect. I think they can build upon that against a more inferior back than, say, Derrick Henry. So, look, I think the Saints can go up there, pick up the win, and be 2-0.
Normally, this is where I would give my prediction. And actually, we're going to probably save our Saints predictions for the end of the show. But since I'm not given one and we are moving on to the NFL, this was a good time to get. One thing I do think that's positive, Larry, is if you look, as bad as the Saints were, they were 28th against the run last week, but the Panthers were 27th against the run. And we talked about it. Again, there's no Bijan Robinson here, but the Saints were 5th with their passing. The Panthers were 3rd against the pass, and that's in part because, again, Desmond Ridder was terrible. I mean, I think he is terrible, which is why I can't get on the Falcons train. People were getting on the Falcons train that they might win the division or at least be second. I really think the Panthers, when all is said and done, are going to be the second team, but we'll see.
What about Baker, man? They're 1-0. Let's go. Baker Mayfield time. 1-0.
Does anyone think that's for real? Let's move. Oh, that's a good segue.
He's more for real than Desmond Ridder.
That could be. That actually could be. Yeah. One of my picks of the week, and we're going to talk about some of these games that stand out to you. But one of my picks of the week is actually, I love Chicago plus 2.5 over Tampa Bay, because I think Tampa Bay we'll see the team that we thought we were going to see this week. And Chicago, I think, is improved. I don't think they're great. I think they're at least average. Justin Fields is fun to watch. And I think they'll have more success than they had this week. So one of my picks of the week. What couple games are you really looking at this week? What are the two that stand out? You don't have to make a pick yet or anything, but the two that you can't wait to watch.
Well, I've already made picks, so I can make them. So they're
Okay.
public. I picked Tampa. I just don't think that. Last week was more of the same for Justin Fields. The guy was pressured 54% of the time. And when he's pressured, it seems like he tries to make too much. Like he loses yards, and it's more of the same. Like it's Justin Fields just not being able to run the offense because the Bears don't have enough to protect him around him. I thought, I know it's only week one. I think the Packers defense is better than what people were giving them credit for. And especially they're going to get even better the more that Rashawn Gary gets on the field and becomes that premier pass rusher again. But still, I didn't like what I saw. And I think Tampa Bay's defense is okay. So I think that, and they, so I think that I'm going Tampa. But some of the games I'm going to be looking at, I'll just go kind of early window.
You
Chiefs,
can pick
Jags.
more than two, by the way. Yeah, just tell me what you like.
Yeah, Chiefs, Jags. I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. Is Chris Jones ready to play? I mean, how healthy is Travis Kelce? Is Jacksonville even better? Offensively with Calvin Ridley in mix there. I'll tell you, I picked Jacksonville to win straight up. So I'm picking the Chiefs to go 0-2. Essentially.
You're cray.
It's at Jacksonville. Jacksonville hung with them tough in the playoffs last year. I could be cray, whatever. That's fine. But that's a game I'm looking forward to. I think I'm curious just because I'm always looking at Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to see how the Bengals rebound against the Ravens.
That's one of my picks of the week. The Ravens are actually one of my picks of the week.
I'm going Bengals.
We're button heads all over the place this week.
We are, yeah. I'm curious to see how that run game comes back to fruition. J.K. Dobbins is gone. They're a little banged up in the secondary for the Ravens, and Mark Andrews is banged up. And I just can't see the Bengals at home laying an egg. So I'm going. I'm picking the Bengals straight up. So that's So. The two early windows, that's what I'm looking at.
Our entire bet.nola.com staff, besides me, loves Cincinnati this week. I tell you, and solid reasoning. You gave me solid reasoning. What is not solid reasoning and what I hate is, well, they have to be better this week. That is not solid reasoning.
No, that's not solid reasoning.
You can never say they have. They were terrible this week. No one ever has to be better, ever. So that's not a good reason. So don't get. At least you gave me real reasons why you think Cincinnati is gonna do better this week. I like that. And I tell you what, there's an interesting game that no one's gonna watch on this list. I think Indianapolis-Houston is kind of interesting because I want to see. I thought Anthony Richardson was, and look, I've been bashing him since they drafted him. I thought that was an awful early pick, but he was actually better. He wasn't great, but he was better in week one than I thought he would be in week one. So I'm interested to see how he goes up against this D'Amico Ryans defense and this line. I think the Sharps are all over Houston, like I was. I picked Houston as well earlier in the week, but Houston was +1 earlier in the week. Now Indianapolis is +1. So
I'll tell you the aspect with Anthony Richardson that his first start in the NFL. I think he was like 66% completion percentage.
64% last week.
It was way better than it's been in college. So the fact he started off that way against a viable opponent like the Jags.
Now that you're picking this week to beat the defending Super Bowl
obviously
champs.
I've got some faith in the Jags. So the fact that he was able to complete a bunch of passes against them without much of a running game, I'm feeling like I'm a little bit more impressed with him than maybe I gave him credit for coming out.
Also, you got the whole Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud story. I actually think that game is interesting. I know it's between two teams that are probably going to end the season with somewhere between 6 wins or less. But I still think it's an interesting game. And again, because of the quarterback thing, I think there's going to be some decent defense being played. Now, a game that I don't think there's going to be a lot of defense being played that you didn't mention, Seattle and Detroit, it was 48-45 last year. I'm not saying it's going to be 48-45 again, but I think there could be a ton of points scored in that game. Geno Smith did not have a good week one. Jared Goff did have a good week one. Again, he didn't have Chris Jones in his face, but I think this game's going to be fun. A lot of offensive weapons on the field in that game, especially at wide
Yeah,
receiver.
I'm picking Detroit, and so much so where
There you go. I'm picking Seattle. So
well, I'm picking them heads up, like Detroit heads up. Like I'm not going, I'm just giving my pick, but still,
I pick Seattle heads up as well.
yeah, I
33-30.
just feel like Geno Smith, he's a roller coaster ride. Like he could be
I
great,
agree.
and then he could just be woo. But I just do not trust Seattle's defense. I like Tariq Woolen on that defense, and that's about it. Bobby
I think it's
Wagner's
gonna be fun.
Bobby Wagner can still play, but like I like 2 of the 11 guys on their defense. So that's
Bobby Wagner's like your age.
Jeez, if he's 43.
I'm just kidding.
Hey man, that's almost like Demario Davis old, right? Look, the aging
I want to look like
playing well.
Yeah, I want to look like you when I'm 43. I mean, this is turning out to be just like Pixie Dust Friday. All right, we're going to move on to the late window. Of the 4 games that are in the late window, which one are you looking at the most? Which one's the most intriguing to you?
I would say it would have been Jets Cowboys, not anymore. Yeah. I would say
you have no faith in Zach Wilson whatsoever.
I've got very little faith in him. Not none, but very little. Very little. Like this needs to be like a Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook show defense. And the Cowboys, their defense played awesome, but poor Daniel Jones. Oh my gosh, crazy stat. Daniel Jones was the most pressured quarterback. His pressure rate against him was like 66.7% last week. That's the 5th worst of any single quarterback performance. I think it's in the last 10 years. Like it's like 11,000 something quarterback performances, and it was like the 5th worst ever. So he was like getting beat up everywhere. But I'm not intrigued with that game. I'd say 49ers Rams. I want to see look, the Rams played well last week. I want to see if they can, if they're anywhere near.
I just want to see if Pokey Loa, whatever his name is really that good at receiving. I know that's not really his name, but that's what I'm going to call him.
Yeah. Well, look, there's some intrigue with Commanders Broncos. I mean, I mean, we're all going to.
Sean Payton, would he start 0-2?
Payton, right? Exactly. And I did not. I'm picking Denver because I just don't.
So am I.
I don't trust Washington. I mean, they won last week, but I still don't trust them. So I figure they could scratch out a close win against them. So yeah,
I agree with you. But to me, that is. But I like both of those games you talked about. The most interesting line from a betting perspective is the fact that the Arizona Giants, the spread at the start of the week was Giants -5.5, and people woke up and realized, what the hell are the Giants doing giving 5.5 points to anyone on the road? And that line has since dropped, and I'm kicking myself because I picked the Cardinals when it was 5.5 as one of my best bets, and I didn't go bet it. I usually go bet earlier in the week. It goes to show, by the way, anyone out there that is getting into betting, don't wait till Sunday morning to go make your bets. Find what you like on Tuesday or Wednesday, or wait till my picks column comes out on Wednesday. 4-1 last week in our best bets. You need to bet it on Tuesday or Wednesday because they changed drastically. And then, oh, crap, I didn't get the number I wanted. There's a reason you didn't get the number you wanted, because the people who know what they do, and they've already made their bets. So anyway, that game is interesting from that perspective. The night games, look, if I were living in a vacuum, didn't care about the Saints one or the other. The 3 night games this weekend, I think Miami, New England. I know everybody's all over the Tua train, and I understand why he passed for like 1,000 yards last week against the Chargers. But Bill Belichick knows how to play these trendy kind of quarterbacks. And even though Miami, in the grand scheme of things, against Belichick has had relative success compared to most teams, I like New England this week. And I think it's a lower scoring game. I probably like the under more than I like New England themselves. But I think Tua's going to throw for like 220.
I picked the Dolphins, and that's the pick I'm probably going to kick myself, because I'm with you in that. Look, Mac Jones actually played pretty well last week against the Eagles, which is a good defense.
Little Bill O'Brien love.
Right. And I think that Miami's defense isn't great. So, and you could maybe slow down Tua. I think that's certainly viable. So, yeah, I think that's the one game on that of all the picks is maybe the one I might regret, like going with Miami straight up because of what you said. Like they almost beat the Eagles. Well, I mean, they came back and made it a close game, but like I said, Mac Jones, I think that offense can get better. And of course, I think the defense could maybe slow down a little bit what Miami brings. So I think that's like I said, I'm picking the Dolphins, but that one I might be kicking myself.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be interesting one way or the other. And to me, the two most interesting games for me on this entire board, that is one of them. I think that is one of the top two most interesting games of the week. The other one for me, I want to see what Jordan Love can do. And we're going to wrap up the show pretty soon. But you talked about him a little while ago, and passers, most of the quarterbacks didn't have a great week. Jordan Love did. I'm not surprised at all. I picked Green Bay to win that division for a reason, because I think Jordan Love is getting overlooked. I think that LaFleur is getting overlooked. I think he's going to now that Aaron Rodgers is gone. I mean, of course, you lose a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're not going to be a better overall team, but to have that distraction gone, I think is going to help that team. And there's still a ton of talent on Green Bay. Now, they may be without Christian Watson again this week, and maybe without Aaron Jones, which even hurts even more. But I think Green Bay, and especially now that the line is kind of swapped, they're getting 1.5. I really like the Packers this week.
Man, we're all over the map. I'm taking the Falcons. Because I think that I need to see more to believe it from Jordan Love. I'm curious to see Aaron Jones' health. He was a huge factor last week for them.
Yeah. No doubt.
If he's banged up, that's a problem. If Christian Watson,
no A.J. Dillon Love, huh?
No. I feel like he was like 2 years ago, and I just think that look, if Atlanta can run the football like they have been, their defense is a little bit better. Like Jordan Love, I don't think the Bears are that good. Atlanta's a little better. It's in Atlanta.
I don't think Atlanta's better at all.
Well, I think Atlanta is a little bit better. But
well, I know. That's why I have you on this show, so we can disagree about things. I mean, we
don't
pretty much
disagree, but I think Atlanta's a little better.
I mean, we agreed for most of the stuff we talked about in the first half show when we were talking about Saints-Panthers, but I mean, since we've gone to the NFL, and you're the NFL writer, so you're the NFL writer, I'm the NFL betting writer, so I don't know. One of us has got to be right. Maybe we're half right and half wrong.
Yeah, I don't look at the odds when I make my picks. Well, I'm just kind of like, oh, this is how I feel. I mean, obviously the odds are there.
That's all I look at.
But I'm not doing spreads and all that. So I'm just looking at like the things I've seen, the data I've read, everything I've researched in the off season and coming in now and seeing what's what. And so, and like when you're catching a team, I mean, that matters too. So here's the thing. If Aaron Jones was healthy and if Christian Watson was healthy, I'm going Green Bay, but I don't know if they're healthy.
Christian Watson wasn't healthy last week, and Romeo Doubs looked like a stud.
But the Bears, I think,
Luke Musgrave.
I don't think the Bears are that good. I think Atlanta is better than.
I think Atlanta's defense is better than the Bears' defense, but I'm not sure that overall that the Falcons are that much better. Again, because I think Justin Fields is way better. Maybe not way better of a passer, but just an overall quarterback. I mean, if you give me Justin Fields or Desmond Ridder, I'm going to take one-legged Justin Fields over Desmond Ridder. No offense.
I'm sure none taken. I'm sure
he's not watching my show, so none taken. Exactly.
No offense. But yeah, I'd rather some guy running around on a pogo stick or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Although Stephon Diggs got pissed off at some Bills reporter because he got caught on a hot mic or something.
It was actually the team employed reporter.
Oh, well, that's worse.
That's not good.
Yikes. Anyway, our friend JJ says hi, by the way.
Why, hello. Good times.
So there you go. All right. Well, Larry, it has been fun. Again, we were pretty much on point when we were talking about the Saints-Panthers. I think we both agree. We didn't make the same pick, and again, my pick's not official, but I think we agree on how we're getting to the end. I think both of us would be surprised if it's a blowout either way, right? I mean, we never talked about that.
I would definitely be surprised if it was just because I don't think that like the Saints. I like the Saints' offense is improving, but I still think Carolina's defense can still be formidable, given look some of the Saints' deficiencies, and also I just don't think that Carolina can put up a bunch of points, even if they're like completely healthy, like I'm wondering about DJ Shark. Like,
Yeah.
their top two
Yeah,
receivers
he's
are DJ
very
Shark
iffy.
and Adam Thielen, and none of them have played a game all together at once.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's up in the air, and I think Bryce Young is still not comfortable yet. So I feel like I feel like the Saints offense can maybe outwit a little bit the Panthers defense, and I feel like the Saints defense can certainly slow down Carolina's offense. So I feel like the Saints have an edge on both sides of the ball.
Twofold why I picked the Panthers, and I'm probably going to stick with the pick. I'm just going to tell you. Number one is Trevor Penning. Number two is you can't find anyone around here that even gives the Panthers a chance to win. That's never good. And I'm talking about media, fans, everyone. I mean, no one even gives the Saints a chance to lose this game. And whenever that happens, you go into a game like that, it goes bad. It just history tells you that it goes bad. All right. Before we go off, JJ says he's living in Dallas and it's unbearable right now. The Cowboys defense is the next 85 Bears. They're locked to win the Super Bowl after one game. I will tell you this, and I'm sure, I never asked him, but I'm sure Larry disagrees with me in this. Dallas, before the season, and I'm not going to change now, my Super Bowl picks, Dallas and Buffalo. It's a rematch of, I don't know, what is that, Super Bowl 26 or something like that? 27?
Oh, man. And Dak you trust. Must be.
Thurman Thomas and is going to go up against Troy Aikman. It's going to be a lot of fun. So who knows? They have the old commercial of Dan Marino coming back and Emmitt Smith.
Here's the thing. I feel like the Cowboys might have a better shot than your other team to actually make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Buffalo didn't look too good last week.
And I just feel like it's a tougher road. Like I said, look, I'm picking Jacksonville to beat the Chiefs. Why would I like the fact that they're a viable contender? Like that, I think that shows you that the AFC is deep. Like an NFC, like a fluke NFC team. I'm not saying the Cowboys are super fluky, but like that could happen. It's the route to the Super Bowl is much easier for
I don't get
Cowboys,
the love for
Saints, something like that than in the AFC.
I just don't get the love for Jacksonville. You're not the only. I mean, there's a ton of people love Jacksonville. Just don't think they're that good. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is that good.
I've done enough of the research and looked to where
I know you have. I know you have.
All right, I can see it, and they're seemingly showing it. So this could be make or break this week for me.
Well, I mean, most good gamblers, I guess, or bettors or whatever you want to call them. I mean, they don't like normally teams that everyone else likes. So there you go. That's part of it. Anyway, a lot of fun, Larry. We'll do it again next Friday. Thank you, my friend. Stay dry on the tennis courts. It's supposed to be rain.
I am not playing this weekend. Thank God. I'm off the tour for now.
What about pickleball? Do you play pickleball?
I haven't. I assume I could pick up a paddle and be really good really quickly, but I have not played it.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll get out.
I can still move on the full court, so maybe that's part of it.
And I definitely can't. So maybe I'll go out and have a chance to at least not embarrass myself playing pickleball. I don't know. I'd like to go out there and
pop the ball around with you, make you feel good about yourself.
All right. That's all I want. At my age, all I want to do is feel good about myself, because sometimes living in a house full of females, I honestly don't feel good about myself all the time. But that's what it is. Next week, you can make me feel good about myself. I see you next Friday, Larry Holder.
I will be here, and curious to see how our differing picks go. This ought to be fun.
Me too, because it will come up. Win or lose, we'll bring it up on Pixie Dust Friday. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us once again. As I always do when I'm done here with Larry and I hit that end stream button, I will go and put in my monologue. And what's the song of the day? I don't know. You'll have to come find out wherever you find your podcast. Search for Dattitude every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Again, Friday, we're live at 10 a.m. on all these social media channels. Everyone have a great weekend of watching football. We'll be back on Monday, actually live with Fletcher Mackle, again on these same channels at 9:30 a.m. Come join us. Have a great weekend. Peace and love, my friends.